Alright, what is going on, team? Just wanted to give my trade recap for tonight before I get some sleep, but I just wanted to jump on here, yeah, again to give my trade recap and why I took a trade, what confluences did I use, and how to, my kind of thought process when taking a trade and kind of things like that. So, jumping right into it, I do want to do a top down analysis from the 4 hour. So, as you can see on the 4 hour, remember how I talked about making that leg up? But, we ended up doing that because remember we got out here at break even. We ended up doing that on the way up here. And what did it do? It inversed this 4 hour fair value gap. So now what does this turn into, right? This turns into a 4 hour inverse fair value gap, which could be a sign of support or resistance or whatever you want to call it. But it is a sign that, hey, we are probably ready to make that leg up now into this 4 hour unmitigated fair value gap, which I talked about yesterday, right? Because I talked about that, hey, if we draw the fib from these highs to these lows down here, we can see that, equilibrium is within this 4 hour fair value gap. So, it could be a way for price to balance itself out before making a whole another leg down again, right? Because we're just following the high time frame trend, right? So, with that in mind, I did have bearish bias. I mean, overall bias was bearish, but the first trade I took was a short, and I'll explain why with good confluences, and I feel like it was a good trade. It could have played out, but the second trade I took was an even better trade, which we ended up winning with no drawdown whatsoever, which is the trades that my model is built upon. That flow, when the market flows in a certain direction. So that's what my model is based on, right? Very, very mechanical. It's just about reading the candles and how they close. That's super important as well, which we will jump into right now, right? So the 4 hour, obviously we're bearish, right? But coming into market open, we did inverse this 4 hour fair value gap. So, buys could work just up to this 4 hour fair value gap, which is up here because it's unmitigated. And jumping into the 1 hour, we did have these highs and these highs. So pre-market did take out these highs, and we did get a nice reaction from it. But again, we because after we displaced from this 1 hour fair value gap here, because if we're following market structure trend, right? We're making higher highs and higher lows as a retracement, right? This is a 1 hour retracement to fill in this 4 hour fair value gap here. We can see that we displaced from this 1 hour fair value gap, as well as, if I'm correct, I'm not sure why that's there, but oh yes, this is always and this is also a 4 hour fair value gap here, right? So when we inverse this fair value gap, we in the process of inversing it, we also created a 4 hour fair value gap here too, which is where price balanced out to kind of push the move that we got, right? So if this 4 hour fair value gap wasn't created, I do think that we could have come down a little bit lower to tap into this inverse here, but this was a perfect trade because this was a fresh POI made on the displacement move. So it works out really, really good, especially when you're trading within that lower time frame trend, right? So again, on the 1 hour, after we displace from this 1 hour and 4 hour fair value gap, we did have some resting sell side, which was up here, which we first took out these highs up here, and we got a nice reaction, right? And I want to show you that reaction on the 5 minute, right? So I'm sorry that this is a mess. I will try to kind of circle where I am at in terms of where I'm explaining. So as you can see here, this line here is when London session opened, and I did hop on like half an hour before London session just to see what the market was at. So I see that we are displacing, and we did break this kind of key high, which was here. And when we made that whole move up, we also destroyed these bearish POIs, which are in here, right? So we had this 5-minute inverse, which I didn't even bother drawing up, because if I draw the fib from these lows to these highs, that with so many inverse fair value gaps and and new fair value gaps created on the move up, the fib tool is really, um, I would say it's a nice confluence to use to kind of pick and choose which fair value gaps are holding, right? So yeah, I'd even bother to draw out this inverse, and neither did this big fair value gap here, um, as we got a nice displacement through it. And when I say that we get a nice displacement through it, it's always to fill in some other confluence when kind of continuing the trend. If we are continuing the trend, we do have that relief push down into a POI, which therefore kind of reacts and continues on the trend here. So, but I did take shorts and I did get out break even, and I want to show you guys why, right? So, um, so as you can see on that move down, right, after tapping these POIs, you can consider that a liquidity sweep just because of the displacement we got after hitting these key highs, which are here. And on that move down, we created a fair value gap, right? So, so as soon as London session opened, which was on this line here, what do we see? What's the next candle that prints, right? We take out all this buy side liquidity, which is up here, right? And we still hold within the fair value gap created on a displacement move after displacing from this 5-minute bearish fair value gap. After displacing from it, we created a 5-minute bearish fair value gap once again. So what did we do? We took out these highs in the fair value gap, and also we did not close above this fair value gap, which sorry, it's gonna be so many fair value gap words gonna be flying out of my mouth. But so once we tapped into this POI, we displace from it. On that displacement, we create another bearish 5-minute fair value gap here. And when the next candle prints, when London session opens, we wick up, fill in this fair value gap a little bit more, take out these highs, and also closing within this recent fair value gap, which was created on the displacement from the original bearish fair value gap. I hope I'm not losing you guys here. I'm trying to use my pointer to kind of point those out to you guys, but yeah, my execution on the 1 minute. This is where you can see where I executed. So, once we got that huge push up, and I see that not only did we create a 1 minute fair value gap here, we also created a 1 minute fair value gap, which was here, right? So, I did enter on this candle being closed. So once we get that nice push through these fair value gaps, and we get that nice closure below this original fair value gap here, I did enter right on this bearish candle here, and I was gonna go break even once we went past this level, right? So what ended up happening was that my MT5 showed that we haven't swept out these lows. So I still haven't. I was still in the trade, so we made some nice retracements up, disregarding this inverse, but tapping into this inverse, which was here, right? I drew it out for you guys just before, but the inverse right here, we tapped into that and we displaced down, right? So once we get that displacement, I'm going break even, because if price wants to run down even lower, it would do from this point on, right? We shouldn't really come back into my kind of my entry, right? After we get that huge displacement down, also creating a bearish fair value gap, which was here, and also one here. And on the, after we get that displacement down, I pretty much got stopped out right away, just because we print that bullish candle here and we had that nice push up, and therefore I got exited out the trade. And I'm gonna tell you guys why, right? So even though we were bullish, right, what we did was that when taking this trade, I wanted to see a closure below these lows, but we actually liquidity sweeped it, tapped into an inverse, an unmitigated inverse, which was here, and you know, we get that displacement up, which caused me to get stopped out at break even. But I did say that shorts could have worked, just because we were reacting off a 1 hour POI, which was that liquidity sweep and that huge displacement down. So I don't see a reason why it could have worked. Yeah, I don't see a reason why it couldn't have worked. But again, I went break even very quickly, because you know, after we break the structure, we should displace through it, because that would be a internal breaker structure, and you know, to then take out these lows and potentially these lows down here. So what we ended up doing was taking out these lows and tapping into this 5 minute inverse fair value gap here, and you know, price continued to rise there. But also, I did want to point out that we also did have an AMD model here, so I'll just get rid of the fair value gaps that we're not looking at the moment. As you can see here, this was our accumulation range, right? We had that manipulation, right? Where we took out these highs on the 5 minute. I told you guys about it. But we took out these highs and still closed within this 5 minute fair value gap at the time, right? And we yeah, like I said, we get the accumulation, the manipulation, and should have been that distribution. But what it was like, it was weird, because what ended up happening was that we get that once we get that accumulation and that distribution, right? We get the same thing again, right? We take out all the people that went that try to go long here, and where the stops be right here. So it's like a AMD model, reverse AMD model. Like we take out the sellers, right? And then we take out the buyers, right? And we displace from there, right? So I hope I haven't lost you guys there, but I will try to remove all the stuff. So that's that first trade done, right? And I was my stops were above these highs, because this was the high that took out these highs and we displaced from it, and TP was just at these lows down here. It would have been Asia lows down here. So let me get rid of this, right? Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this, because we already went break even on the trade. Get rid of this, and let's see on the 5 minute how. So I can get rid of this. It's too much red stuff going on here. I can. Okay, this is where, okay, cool. So after we get that manipulation, like that reverse AMD model, we displace up, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Buys could work, right? Because that means that we took out, after taking out these, oh, what the hell is going on? Oops. Sorry. So once we took out these lows that I was talking about before, how we had the reverse AMD model, where we took out these lows and we started to make some moves up. I'm like, okay, cool. What does the market want to do now? Because now that I know that, the trade didn't work, was I too early in my entry, or are we coming out to sweep these highs once again, or like what am I looking for, right? So on that move up, what did we create? We also, what did we create, right? We created a, um, we created this 5 minute, this previous 5 minute, which was holding for some sort of resistance. We broke through that resistance and we closed above it. We created a 5 minute fair value gap, which was here on that move up, right? And we also on this leg up, we also had that bearish POI I was talking about, right? The one where we closed below it after taking out these highs, which were up here, right? And so on that move up, this counts within, this acts as some form of support, right? Because this should have been a bearish POI where we should have continued on to take out, more lows. But we broke through this and we broke through this. We broke through this one and we also broke through this one. So we had two inverses to work from, right? So this, we had that move up. We took out people that sold from this area, right? And I wanted to see, this was originally my break-even point, right? But price already tapped that area before we could get a retrace, right? So I'm like, hey, cool, let's see if we displace from there. Because if we do, maybe we can catch a little continuation up to these hourly highs, which are up here, right? So what ended up happening was that we took out people buy side, which was up here, and we kind of displaced down from it, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, this could be a retracement, right? This is the retracement I'm looking for. Now I'm looking for entry. Okay, so let's get rid of the POIs that didn't hold, right? After we get that sweep of buy side, which is up here. So this 5 minute big inverse, which is holding for with some form of resistance or support, that got broken through, right? So we can get rid of that. This 5 minute here, this 5 minute fair value gap here didn't hold, right? We closed below it, right? But again, what's within this leg? This 5 minute bearish inverse, right? Which acts as some form of support and resistance, like we talked about before here, right? So this 5 minute didn't hold. So I'm like, cool. If this inverse doesn't hold, I told myself, I promise you guys, I told myself I was getting off. Because if we close below here, then I don't know. I feel like market will just chop to, I don't know, when. All right. Like it's very hard to trade in these kind of conditions, right? So this 5 minute inverse ended up holding, right? But it looked atrocious on the 1 minute, which I will get into now. So as you can see, we buyers and sellers are really trying to break through this level here, right? So as you can see, we get some pushes up, but what's in our way, right? So first on that move down, we had that 5 minute fair value gap, which I got rid of before, right? On that bullish move up. So we react from it, but what do we tap into? A 1 minute fair value gap here, right? And so which is we reacted from, we displaced from it, and which on the 5 minute we closed below, we closed below that fair value gap, which is why we got rid of it. And tapping into this 5 minute inverse, we can see that we're chop, and we got like a mini, it was like a 1 minute liquidity sweep, and what I saw was displacement, right, which is what we got. So chop, holding this area, and I see the 1 minute like start making some moves down, right? I'm like, oh fuck me, like we're gonna close below that 5 minute inverse, and I'm just gonna call it a night, because again, it's hard to know where price wants to target, especially when your POIs aren't holding for longs and for shorts. So it's a sign that, hey, that, to call it a night and not to trade, right? So this 5 minute inverse ended up holding. So what we got was a liquidity sweep of, oh, sorry, these lows, which was here, like all these equal lows, which are here, and we get a nice bullish move up. So I'm like, okay, cool. Longs are now like in play, because after we get that sweep, I mean that instant bullish move up, I know that buys are now stepping in, right? Orders are filled, right? And the last thing I wanted to see, right, the checklist. The last thing I wanted to see was a closure above this 1 minute fair value gap, because this was the fair value gap that, we had this 5 minute support and we had this 1 minute resistance, and we were just bouncing up and down from there, right? And we weren't able to break each level. Again, I'm not counting this fair value gap here because I talked about it previously, that this fair value gap was used, right? This fair value gap was used oh, to displace price further down, right? So that's already been used and that's done. So we can get rid of that. So this fair value gap is where we were holding from. We were in between this 5 minute inverse as well as this 1 minute fair value gap here. So once we get that closure above, this is like super important. Once you see that liquidity sweep and that instant displacement, you're already in like a good position to take a trade, right? And we can see here that, what's the time here? 9:46. So we're within the macro, right? The hourly macro, which is between every hour 45 minutes and the next hour 15 minutes, right? So the macro for this time would have been 9 from the start of 9:45 to 10:15. That's the hourly macro that happens every single hour. So, I use that as a confluence when taking a trade, because that's when a new 1 hour candle forms and opens. That's when a new hourly candle opens, a new 15-minute candle opens, a new 30-minute candle opens. So it's a powerful confluence to use if you find a trade within that kind of macro. It's always a good confluence to have that there. I don't only take trades in the macro, but I do use it as a confluence. So if I see, displacement and we're in macro timing, I'm more likely to take the trade, just because, it's a flush, absolutely beautiful move, which is what we got here, right? What we got here. So talking about it before, we get that 1 minute inverse, right? We get that closure above, right? So this now becomes a 1 minute inverse, right? So once we got that closure above, you can see that we had a nice wick down, right? We had a nice wick down, but again, we still as a defense had this 1 minute fair value gap, which was here, which was created after that liquidity sweep and with that huge displacement up. So we still, price could have easily retraced down here, and made the move up again. But again, that mechanical checklist of saying that, hey, once we close above this 1 minute inverse here, we're ready to go, right? And we were super patient. We waited for that displacement, showing that buyers are, they're stepping in there, you know what I mean? So absolutely beautiful trade here. So once we got that closure above, and I see that we had a wick down and we closed bullish just above the zone, I went long. Set stop loss at these lows here at the liquidity sweep, and my targeted these hourly highs, which were here, right? And also in confluence with the unmitigated 4 hour fair value gap, which is a nice thing for price to draw into after we fail to hold the previous bearish 4 hour fair value gap. So you know, this was liquidity paired with a 4 hour fair value gap. You know, it could be, it's a nice magnet for price sometimes. So, this was a 3.79 trade. Absolutely beautiful trade here. I did go BE. Like I said, I stuck to the plan. I went BE at these 5 minute highs, which are up here. And again, we get that flush, beautiful move, which is what we got here. So almost a 4 hour trade, which is beautiful, beautiful. No drawdown whatsoever. Didn't deal with any drawdown. This was a complete flush, utterly move right here to these hourly highs. So again, that's what my model is based on. It's based on flush moves like this. And again, once we don't get that, um, you know, it my strategy kind of protects itself. So, you know, once we displace through a low or a high, you know, ideally we shouldn't return back to that area. Price should just hold its zone and continue to you know, follow that trend here, which is exactly what we got here, right? We get that displacement down, right? We inverse the gap we needed to inverse on this candle here. And what ended up happening was that we displaced through these lows with displacement, and again we you know, it was to fill in more buy orders, which were here, as well as um, yeah, to fill in more buy orders, which you know, my strategy protects itself, right? Because my confluences are based on displacement, right? And you know, once we get displacement like this, we should continue. Unfortunately, we didn't get that on this trade, but we got that on this trade. So this is a perfect example on, you know, my kind of strategy, right? And how it works and how I'm protecting my capital by using a mechanical strategy, because to me, a mechanical strategy is what works for me, right? So you got to figure out what works for you and how you understand the market. That's number one as well. And yeah, I mean, today was a beautiful, beautiful trade. Um, good way to kind of end off the week. I think I might just call it there for the week. I mean, we will see tomorrow. Um, and yeah, we'll go from there. Yeah, I just wanted to wish you guys a great, great Thursday or Friday, or wherever you guys are from. And yeah, to keep risk managing, and also think, you know, be patient. Don't revenge trade. So don't trade straight after you take a loss or you go break even. You know, take a step back. Um, think about, you know, what price is actually trying to do, right? When we see that we don't get that displacement and we don't follow through here, obviously, this we took our internal lows after taking out these hourly highs, which is what we got, and we start displacing up from there. And where we targeting? The next, oops, we're targeting the next kind of you know, that liquidity where orders are likely to get filled, especially in this you know, in this downtrend, which would be this 4 hour fair value gap, as well as taking out these hourly highs, which are up here. So absolutely stunning trade. I'm really happy with this one here. And yeah, I mean, I will see you guys tomorrow, or today, I should say. I'm starting this really cool job, so I'm really excited to start that tomorrow. You know, kind of based around my hobbies and things like that. So it's pretty cool to start that tomorrow. So I'm all freshened up, ready to go to bed. But you know, I will stay consistent with the videos no matter what. This is my journal. This is for you guys to see. You know, wins or losses, we will kind of post them, right? I will be honest. The trades I take, win or lose, and yeah, you know, this you guys will be there with the journey. You know, when we make it. So, yeah, just want to wish you guys a good night and